Alright, we're back with another unboxing video for Victorum Games, and this is another SPQR video. This time we're going to take a look at unboxing the Hetairoi Cavalry for Macedonia, so stay tuned and we'll get this open. Alright, we got everything open, and here's what you get in the box. So you get your bases. There's only 6 models in the box, but they do give you a full 8, so useful to have some extras just in case you have some extra models laying around or some conversions or who knows what. And in contrast to, basically, these are the same models that they had for Hail Caesar, which is the sort of large battle Ancients game that they make for Warlord Games. So basically what they've started doing for SPQR is sort of recasting them in resin, similar to what GW did with like Finecast years ago, although unlike Finecast, so far anything and everything that I've seen for these sort of remakes doesn't really have any of the issues that has typically been associated with Finecast. So far everything's really come out basically not warped or with huge miscasts or anything like that. Everything's crisp, not too much flash either. Nothing's really bent. And again, I've opened a fair few of these, not just for Macedonia, but other factions as well. So definitely a great thing Warlord's doing, and would be awesome if they actually sort of went back and made these the defaults for Hail Caesar as well. So just to not have metal models anymore, although I know some people prefer those, but for larger games, the weight and transport definitely becomes an issue. But that's a different topic. But really crisp details, as you can see. Just excellent overall there in quality. And the one thing that is annoying with a lot of these models, though, are these basically brass spear lance tips or whatever. Like, these things are so ridiculously sharp. You really do need to be careful when you're working with these, or when you're trying to move models around on the battlefield. If you're trying to pick them up from the top, just be careful of poking yourself. These things will draw blood. Okay, so you get your 6 horses, 6 riders. They give you basically kind of like a leader-looking dude with a sword, a model for the horn, and a banner if you decide to go that route. And as with every unit that actually is made for SPQR, you do get a stat card. So basically a little bit of history on one side, the points cost, type of unit, equipment. So for these Hetairoi, basically a good solid medium cavalry unit. So horse, linothorax, long spear, and sword. So they can cause some damage but also stick around. Oops. And then, as we're making a mess here, so then the other sort of business end on the other side of the card. Options. So you can replace their linothorax with cuirasses, which again won't slow the horses down. So it's a special rule in SPQR. So basically, the only thing that will slow the horses down is barding. So even tougher armor. So really moving into more of a heavy cavalry range there, but still retaining the speed of basically light to medium. You can also add barding on there if you want, and that will certainly up your armor, but will slow them down. But then really things are getting quite expensive. You can buy them some javelins, which does seem like kind of a waste. Really, you want to be getting into melee with these guys and just basically wrecking everybody. And you can then buy a standard and horn for the usual costs there. Usually don't end up buying the standard on my units. I usually just go for the horn, but it's not to say that the standard is not useful. They have a cool ability, unlike hit and run. With a lot of the other cavalry units, they have what's called Flight of Cranes. So if they charge an enemy unit and inflict more casualties than they suffer in return, basically in that action, they can perform an immediate and free move or melee action without fleeing from combat. Simply move them out of contact with any remaining enemy. So depending on what's going on, getting in a free melee out of that, although you won't really count as charging anymore for spear purposes, but having swords is awesome, is something to consider there. Now note, these guys don't have shields, so if you're sticking around, you should make sure that you're going to be able to win and not take too much damage in return. But being able to get that extra action just to even bounce out of melee and maybe set up for another unit to even charge the unit that you just charged. Or really, if you wipe that unit out and then want to basically get a free move out of it to position yourself better for later turns or not get charged in return, is fantastic. And then stat-wise, move of 6 as standard, really. Range +1, again, personal opinion, buying javelins for these guys is a waste of time. Melee +2, 2 melee dice apiece, no extra agility, really solid bravery, good armor already to begin with, and the the typical 2 wounds of cavalry models. So really your mainstay cavalry unit for Macedonians. Now they do make a second cavalry unit, which is basically like successor cataphracts, so that gets more towards that heavy end with barding and all that. But really, you should be using these guys just as the Hetairoi versions and buy the other ones if you're trying to represent that sort of super heavy cavalry unit. But all in all, great unit for the Macedonians. Awesome quality of models and everything like that. So definitely a mainstay of your forces, especially if you're playing bigger games and you're actually using like Alexander and or Hephaestion and other cavalry type heroes. And certainly for campaigns, these guys have been awesome thus far. So that has been a quick look at the Macedonian Hetairoi Cavalry for SPQR from Warlord Games. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit us with a like and maybe subscribe for the channel, and then stay tuned for more content.